Hey guys, it is 101R Smith, and I'm back with a build that took 3 months that really had no business taking this long. But this is my review of the Real Grade Wing Gundam from Gundam Wing. So our fourth 1/144 scale model kit from the Wing Boys. Technically, yes, this already has a high grade. It came out in 2013 as a part of the All Gundam project, right around the same time as the first Build Fighters series was coming out. But here we are almost 8 years later, or 9 in this case, and we have the Real Grade Wing Gundam. And it's really here to complement the other 3 wingsuits, and I'm pretty excited about it because we finally have a TV version. I'm happy that a lot of the TV versions are getting a lot of love lately. As much as I love the EW designs, I'm kind of tired of them. Not in a resentful way, but I want the versions that I grew up with. I did grow up with the customs or the verkas of the second half of the show, but I want the original TV designs. We may never get them in master grade, but we're getting our satisfaction here in a high grade, real grade 1/144 scale. So with that out of the way, why don't we open up the box and see what we have here. All built up, and we have Wing Gundam, and I have to say the obvious standout is the detail. This thing has a multitude of different panel lining, built-in detail. The two-tone separation of the whites works excellently here. It uses a more saturated blue in comparison to the more natural traditional blue seen on the master grade and the high grade. The yellow is a nice mustard yellow. It's not too dark. It's that perfect yellow that we see in traditional lead suit Gundams. And I gotta say, I love the proportions on this. It was able to take the TV design from 95, slimmed it up a bit, and made it more realistic. And that is the goal of a real grade. This looks amazing, but looks aren't everything, so why don't we see its articulation? As we always do, we start with the head. The head can go up and down 2 joints on the neck and can swivel 360, but you need to be mindful. You don't want to bust the V-fin. Chest. Surprisingly, I think this is one of the first real grades that doesn't have an active cockpit, but it still has made up for it with a double waist. The arms can swivel out 360. It's connected on 2 different hinges on the shoulder and the arm itself. You're gonna get a double jointed elbow, but it's blocked off by the talons on the forearms. The hands are kind of like the high grade hands. You plug them in, ball cap, poly cap, except no poly cap in this one. Waist, you're gonna get a surprisingly amount of articulation. Not quite extravagant and not quite wild, but you can definitely get a lot more posing. You're going to get a very beautiful double jointed knee bend that the armor shifts up and down. The ankles are double jointed, so you're going to be able to move the top and the bottom near the foot. Can't quite get 360 degrees, but you can definitely get a toe point. And then with the wings are itself are fully articulated and have a lot more detail than its TV master grade counterpart. I would put the detail in the wings in comparison to Wing Zero Verka. They really pack them in with a lot of different sections that break up and down. And overall, that is the articulation. A lot to be had, but there are a few small points that we'll get to later on. Accessory time, and we first start with the traditional because that's really all that comes with. It's a very traditional Gundam package, and you're going to get, first off, you're gonna get the Buster Shield. The Buster Shield is made up of different bevy of components. You're gonna get your red, your white, you're gonna get your inner frame in the bottom. It connects via the forearm on the back. I think theoretically you could attach it to both arms, but I think it's really meant for the left arm. However, we have a bit of a problem in that it connects so well to the forearm and part in the back that once it falls out, the whole blue section in the back falls out with it. So that's a bit of a problem that you need to come and expect with. Otherwise, it can do the gimmick of opening up and being able to pull out a beam saber. You only get 1 hilt, but you get 2 beam effects, which is weird. I know that's not uncommon, but I would have maybe done something a little bit more special, maybe like its own molded 2-part piece, but hey, it works, and that's the most important part. And the clear piece that is presented at the front of the Buster Shield is green, so you don't have to paint that. And of course, it wouldn't be a Wing Gundam without a Buster Rifle. You get the traditional Buster Rifle made up of 2 tones of gray, like a gunmetal for the cartridges and a more, I want to say a German gray for the body itself, as long as with the yellow piece in the back, and a clear green piece for its scope. It works pretty well. You connect it to the gun holding hand. It can only be held in one arm, the right, but it plugs in, you tab it in, and you put it in the arm, and it can hold up pretty well. It does have a tendency of going loose from time to time. I wish it would carry over the gimmick from the Master Grade, which the talon could be used as a way to keep it more steady. That would have been a cool overturn, because it was a really cool gimmick, but I guess they decided that the Wing Gundam can hold its Buster Rifle on its own, and it looks very impactful once you start posing it with the Buster Rifle. You can get, especially with an action base, you can get a lot of great posing, a lot of aerial combat with it. Like example, like Wing Gundam cutting up a Leo. I wish I had a Leo, but I don't have one. But this is a great poser as well. It might only have the very simple configurations of a Gundam weapon set, but it works well. Finally, we have the bird mode, and bird mode works surprisingly well. It did take a good 15 minutes to transform correctly. You gotta make sure everything is hinged together. It works very similarly to the Master Grade in terms of the connection, except you don't really have to pull up the side skirts in order to connect it into the forearm. It can transform on its own. It's got different hinges and to allow the feet to transform with the knees. And it's amazing. And yes, I am aware of the origami bird mode. And no, I'm not touching that thing with a 20-foot pole, because this is one of those things where I love Bandai, but sometimes and just for comparison, we have the Master Grade Wing Gundam that is dusty because I haven't moved it in over 6 months, and its Real Grade counterpart. And I still love the Master Grade overall. I think it has a lot more stability than the Real Grade, but the Real Grade allows you to have a Master Grade-esque 1/44 scale to go with your Gundam Wing figures on that scale. And I do like the more saturated blue, but obviously you can paint that up, and I love the fact that most of the clear colors came in its correct coloring and not without stickers. So they're kind of neck and neck with each other in my opinion, but it's really about preference at this point. What kind of frustrations are you willing to deal with, and do you want big or small? This review wouldn't be complete if I didn't put Hero next to his comrades, Duo, Troa, Katra. I feel like we keep forgetting.
You saw I was a kid and you underestimated me. You're a weak soldier. I don't kill bleeding hearts or women.
Yeah, I mean Wu-Fei, but I guess no one loves Wu-Fei, which is sad. He's a decent character. He should be a part. Bandai, you need to get him in 2022, please. Now we have that out the way, it is now time for my final thoughts on the Real Grade Wing Gundam. And I really had to take my time to think about this. As you guys know, I'm a huge Gundam Wing fanboy. I really wanted to give this an S ranking, but there's a few slew problems that kept it from the S. And it mainly came with a lot of the parts like to fall apart. They like to pop off. The front skirts, the side skirts, the hinges or the trim on the knee fell out so many times. The antenna on the Buster Rifle fell out so much that I had to glue it down. One of the reasons, or the main reason why this review took 3 freaking months is because I lost a front skirt armor. I tried to look for it all throughout my house. I went on a vacation. My mom cleaned up the living room because she thought my Gundam kids were becoming too cluttery. I lost the front skirt, and I was devastated. And typically when that happens, I just kind of shut down and give up on the review altogether, which you could say, well, that's wasteful, Reggie. You put in so much effort. But if I can't complete it, I just get really mad and I don't really want to deal with it. That's what happened with Imperialism. But before I go on and finish that story, I want to say this is not sponsored. I'm not paid to say this. This is my own personal opinion. I really have to give a huge shout out and thank you to Mega Parts Guy. Mecha really came through. I found this site on a Gundam forum page on Facebook. They give you replacement parts. I spent about $45 on my Real Grade Wing Gundam back last summer. Typically, in order to get the replacement parts, you have to order it, I think it was within 3 months, and I was just a little shy of that, so I couldn't go to Boothing. Mecha Parts Guy came through. He was able to give me both one of the front skirts and the inner frame associated with it. I paid maybe $7, and I was able to complete this build, and that is what saved this review. And I have to give them a huge thank you and a promo, because God knows how many times we lost kits or parts of kits. You either have to scratch build a new replacement or buy a brand new one, which costs even more, especially if you're painting it. And Mecha really came through with this, so that's my little side story for how we came here. I really have to think back, and I said, I really looked at my Force Impulse review because I felt that that was, at that point, the best real grade I've ever built. I didn't have the early installation issues of the pre-built inner frame falling apart and the kit getting loose over time. It was steady, it was stern, it was strong. I didn't have to deal with any of the hiccups from the earlier kits. It felt revolutionary. And the problem with Wing Gundam is, while it's a great kit, it's not revolutionary. It doesn't really change the game. It's just a continuation of the excellency that we're getting with real grade kits. And also, the front skirts and the trim popping out to the point where I have to glue parts. If I have to glue a part, you cannot get an S ranking in my mind. You get an A. It's a solid kit, it's fun, especially if you get an action base, come up with great ideas, and hopefully we will see Wu Fei in 2022, because all of the parts are there! When you made the variant of the Ultron and Gundam Build Divers, it's there! Just Bandai needs to just do it! But this is a solid kit, I would recommend it. May not be the greatest real grade kit in the world, but that's not a bad thing. It's a solid, and you want this as part of your collection if you're into Wing 1/144 scale. So, with that in mind, I am 101 Smith, and I will see you later. Peace.